wig and did not know what to say. It left me sort of startled and confused. Red lips and white makeup and those big old red shoes. But my daddy tore a knot in me for being so damn rude. He said, son, don't you know that clowns are people too? Clowns are people too. Big red shoes. Clowns are people too. Don't be rude. If you weren't a bit lucky, then this could easily be you. I met your mom when she was up on that old trapeze. What can I say but hey, I had a thing for circus freaks. I started watching Bozo and warmed to the movie It. Killer Clowns from Outer Space to me was a big hit. Some people like McDonald's because of Mayor McCheese, but Ronald is my homeboy now, and Krusty and Pinky. Clowns are people too. Big red shoes. Clowns are people too. Don't be rude. If you weren't a bit lucky, then this could easily be you. I met your mom when she was up on that old trapeze. What can I say but hey, I had a thing for circus freaks. Clowns are people too. Clowns are people too. Now I own some tiny horns and got me those red shoes. I don't know much but know one thing that's true. If you don't know anything, just know that clowns are people too.
Welcome to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, part of the Chief Sports Network.
Mad Dog's upstate raised and reared up near the tater patch. He flirted with that upstate team, now bleeds garnet and black. It's been almost 2 decades since JC started Big Spur. He may live outside of Chicago, but he's all Spartanburg. It's the show, the Gamecock Show. ITG, Phil and JC, it's the show. It's fun and entertainment, but also information, things you cannot get on radio. It's the show. Gather around all you Gamecocks, it's the show. The show, the show. Let's go. JC and Mad Dog Mully on the Gamecock Show.
Welcome in, everybody, inside the Gamecocks The Show. Bill Mullinax here, Mad Dog, JC over there. We've got a lot of pretty deep subjects to get into today. We'll have a little fun today, too, in the Nana Sports chat box interactions. Any questions, go ahead and fill them up there. Looking forward again. Don't forget, big opening day celebration is what we're calling it. Extravaganza, celebration, whatever it is.
It's a celebration.
It's a celebration. We're live from Founders tomorrow with a whole laundry list of Gamecock baseballs. Basically, best and brightest. And a few late additions, too. Like we might actually, Coach Toman might actually join tomorrow, which is an interesting ad. Working on that. And you never know who might be milling about Founders pregame to hop on with JB, myself, and JC. We are wall to wall all 4 hours. It'll be fun. Well, good to see you though, sir. How's your morning been going? Been busy today. So you have too. I think coffee's up, ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah, nice coffee this morning on George recruiting in Georgia. Had to take the wife to work. That's always fun. It hasn't snowed. The snow is starting to melt away. That was good.
Yeah.
Right, freaked out enough yesterday, but if I can keep from knocking over my mic. Oh,
Bless
I had
you.
to sneeze there. Well, and instead of hitting the mute button, I hit the settings button like an idiot. So not off to a great start today on the show, but certainly is a lot to talk about. Just some topics. I wanted to start. I know the news kind of broke while you guys were finishing the morning show, but 11 Gamecocks going to
Yeah.
the scouting combine. That's a good sign. I just read, got the email.
Uh-oh. I think we may have lost JC. That's all right. Ah, there he is. He's coming back in a new window. Hey, you
Yeah.
look even better now.
Yeah, hopefully. I didn't restart before we started, and that this computer needs that. The Georgia had 14.
Yeah.
So as good as they've recruited, South Carolina's in the ball game with Georgia. And I did want to point out that of the 11 guys, Phil, check out these were their rankings coming out of high school. Rocket was a 4-star wide receiver. Torricelli Simpkins was a 0-star, no rating. John Simon was a low 3. Otto Ford was a midish high 3. Newman wore a high 3. Taka Hemingway was a low 4. DeAndre Jules, and I'm glad he got invited because I think he's a really good player. I've said a couple of times it'd have been great to get him back. DeAndre Jules was a 3. Good find by Pat Narduzzi and his staff. Kyle Kennard, mid 3. TJ Sanders, mid 3. Demetrius Knight, low 3 as a quarterback. And Bam Martin Scott was a mid 3 JUCO guy from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Not a lot of blue chip recruits,
No.
but they became blue chip players. And a lot of them are from South Carolina. Some are their way to Carolina through the portal and all that good stuff. So, I just I knew this was going to be a relatively big number. Didn't quite know, Phil, with Bam Martin Scott and DeAndre Jules if they would get invited. And of course, it's really because Kai Kroger is invited to the specialist combine.
That's right. Yeah, he is going to.
Mike
go.
Uva reported that the other day on X. So, hats off to the staff. This is great for the program because a lot of these guys are going to get drafted. And I don't think I can't find a draft on more than 7. Maybe there's one with 8 Spurrier years. So this could be a record-setting NFL draft, but it's scary because guess what? You got to replace those guys next year.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a little
losing 12 NFL prospects off the team.
Yeah, a little scary. That's a little bit, you're like, huh? It's like, is this all there is? Is this all there is?
But
Was
the
9 and
cupboard's
4
not
all
bare.
there is.
Yeah,
No, it's not. And that's why you go recruiting every single cycle. And I feel like, right now the football staff deserves the benefit of the doubt because they've done well in the portal, even after 2022 when they, ran into some financial walls. They got players that could play. I mean, Mario, where would that team have been without Trey Knox, Mario and Josh Simon, who they got in that class? And so I look at it and I think, well, it is a tall task to replace everyone, but they've replaced players before and been fine. So I think they're good at identifying players out of the transfer portal, and you got those 13 coming in. But then the best recruiting class I think that they've signed is 2024, and it's small, but there's a lot of players from that class that are still with obviously a lot. I only think out of the high school ranks, they only lost Ron Gilling at receiver. So we'll see sort of what transpires this offseason, but that's certainly a big deal. I think I've been waiting on that number to come out, Phil, because I've kind of looked and you started looking around. And there's a lot of players on this roster that could be drafted that could play in the National Football League. So we'll see. Hate it for Vershawn Lee a little bit. No combine invite, but I think he's got a chance. So
Yeah, you could still end up with undrafted
Yeah.
free agent, getting in. I'm sure he'll get
Yeah.
looks by teams in the preseason for sure. Mm-hmm.
Well, and Phil, they draft players that don't go to the combine all the time.
This is true. That's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And players that go to the combine sometimes don't get drafted because they either exposed or whatever. So
yeah.
All right. So now the sports chat box is always rocking and rolling here on Inside the Gamecock Show. Sorry for beaming out earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Clint got a coffee shout out this morning. Absolutely. Because Clint's our recruiting guy. He loves recruiting. I know I can count on him to talk recruiting 24 hours a day. Not that I text Clint at 4 a.m. talking about recruiting, but I know I could. But I know he would enjoy that conversation. So anyway, shout out on coffee this morning. We were talking about Georgia and kind of how South Carolina's fine-tuned it over the last 10 years or so recruiting that state. I think there's been some extremes through the Holtz and Spurrier era where Holtz kind of walked away from it and then abandoned it a little bit. And, there were classes where they just signed Addison Williams or whatever. And then Spurrier got players from there and then almost got too extreme where they would sign 10, 11 guys and 8 of them couldn't play. And so I think Muschamp hit the sweet spot and was good at finding players over there like Bonham and Ernest Jones and those guys, and also getting the JC Horns. And I think Beamer and his staff have fine-tuned it and done even better, which I pointed out was a surprise. So anyway, we had some news in the last couple of days I wanted to address, the Title IX situation. Tiffany in the chat box yesterday brought up Title IX and how even as a female, she doesn't like it. I'll say this. I think it fundamentally, the law is good and well-intended. I believe in equality. I believe females have a right to go get educational benefits. I've thought some things about the way they did sports were unfair and unrealistic because they didn't consider football that there's no female equivalent, and they also don't consider that football funds all the sports. But at the same time, I've never really jumped up and down other than what they did to college baseball, which sucks.
Yeah.
I've never jumped up and down on the table and been anti-Title IX. However, beyond sports, there's a groupthink in Washington that sort of, I think, weaponizes it a bit. I think uses it to be grossly unfair to males. And I think they've done that since the Obama administration, quite frankly. And when it creeps into sports, that's when I'll start talking about it. Right. And, what the outgoing zealots in the Department of Education did before they left was trash, quite frankly. Right. They knew this was not going to fly. It's 100% pure ideology. Drink it from a freaking hose because it's all it is, And, the last administration, the word equity came up a lot. And let me just tell you a little bit about equity. I am all for equity as far as creating opportunity for people. And I'll apply it to sports because we're going to stick to sports. But this word equity, some people have taken it and run with it. And it's very, if you get way into it, for what some people want, it's quite frankly, I think communism's thrown around a lot, but let's just say there's a lot of ideas that get attached to this word that are un-American, quite frankly. What I think equity is, that I'm all for it, is equalizing opportunity. Okay. So there's that word, opportunity. In other words, hey, everybody's from a different background. Everybody, has a different life story. Some people may need, there may need to be an investment by the government here, there, or yonder to, in communities or wherever you want to say, hey, we know that given your circumstances, you need some help and we need to boost you up a bit so that you can personally, individually take the opportunity and go, right? That to me is where it ends. Because at some point, the equity, it's like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't teach it to drink, Phil.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
I have no problem helping people get the water and giving the opportunity, right? In other words, I am not for making Dawn Staley's women's basketball team, which loses money, a significant amount. I'm not for making them take a bus to Austin, Texas. Like they used to make the baseball team bus to Baton Rouge. I put them on a private jet or whatever, just like the men. I'm not for what they did with the stupid NCAA, with the NCAA tournament when the women got the short end of the stick. I'm not for any of that. I'm not for trying to say, buy them cheaper uniforms or shoes or pay them less percentage of their scholarship or not pay as much for their housing or their Austin money, which is academic related. All those things that we do for athletes, student athletes across the board. I don't know. And look, women's sports weren't going to get cut. It's going to be the men's sports that get cut if you have to cut sports stuff, right? From revenue share and all that. But that to me is equity. Okay. And the women's team programs, they're not going to generate as much as men's basketball or football. There's only 2 revenue sports on the whole campus. But what we're going to do is applying principles of equity. We're going to take the money the football and basketball team generated and evenly distribute it across the board and prop up our women's athletics. Bottom line. Great. Where this ends with me is with revenue share and NIL, because it's not. I don't give a flip what the lawyer in Oregon says. He's a zealot, and he's looking to cash in and make. It's amazing. Everybody nowadays, you can trace everybody's opinion to what makes them money personally. All right? Yeah. He's going to put money in the coffers, whatever. I don't give a flip what his butt says. I don't give a flip what zealot that used to work at the Department of Education says. I don't care how you interpret. You want to twist Title IX and make it apply. The equity and the equality of the opportunity is still in existence, even if you divide this money up fairly. Okay. Because, the female golfer that comes to South Carolina, that's the next big thing that's going to go to the LPGA tour. She's going to have just as much opportunity to go earn NIL and rev share and all that as the football player. There's just as much opportunity there individually to make it work as it relates to your individual sports. We know all sports are not created equal as far as interest. That's just how it goes. You can't force it on anybody. These people that bitch about nobody comes to WNBA games and all this other stuff. Well, guess what? Improve your product. Tough. That's equality because the opportunity's there. The opportunity's there, right? And so, and it was explained that, how they're trying to interpret this is it's a supplemental educational expense. No, it's not. This money has nothing to do with them getting education.
No,
not a thing.
No.
This
and
is
quite
money
frankly, the money that they spend on education should be accounted for in some way, shape, or form when making some of these calculations in regard to revenue share and all of that, and should have been a valid point before the zealotry of these players are just not getting paid. I'm like, well, they make a hell of a lot more on a scholarship, food, room, board, and all that other stuff than some people make in an entire year. So let's let's talk about the whole picture here.
Yeah, so you want schools to pay the players fair market value, or a fair market value. You're capitalist all of a sudden, but oh no. You got to pay the girls just as much. Well, that's not fair market value. I'm sorry. And honestly, I've seen the WNBA salaries reported. Women's college basketball probably pays a little better NIL wise in certain places than the WNBA. And somebody like Caitlin Clark, who went out and earned it, is making money. I'm sorry, some of the WNBA players are about as marketable as a ball of rotten mushrooms. You know, maybe they should improve their personality a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, be more marketable. Isn't that what we've told pro athletes on the men's side for years?
Yeah.
You know, isn't that what they talked to Rod Tidwell about and Jerry Maguire? Show me the money.
Well, and that's the other side of it too, JC, is like not all pro athletes are making money off of their name, image, and likeness. Some of them are relying merely on their talents and abilities on the court. You don't hear, you know, the seventh guy on an NBA team schlepping Hondas, you know, at the down the local store here.
Who's
you
this
know,
guy
I mean,
again?
yeah, right. It was like, wait a minute, that guy's really tall. I guess he plays basketball.
So,
I mean,
yeah,
not everybody is recognizable.
The debate has jumped the shark with regards to this. It was never intended to be that way. And you can't, you know, the same people on that one side of the aisle that, you know, talked about how it was quite frankly racist that they weren't playing players and acted like college football was this, for lack of a better term, plantation. Some people said that.
Of the plantation mentality.
You know,
that was never nationally.
Yeah, that was out there. The same people that said that now won't, you know, now, it needs to be all even. Well, who's who's running a commune here? You know, I mean, who's, you know, everybody's
right.
And it should be well known. This shit hasn't worked in the history of the world. And you may say, what about China, JC? They got a pretty good economy. No, it hadn't. They're a gangster capitalist society. In other words, their biggest capitalist is their government, right? Which is even worse than what the commune people, you know, Marxism originally was supposed to be in theory. Look at your world history. It's a complete mess. Now, I think in America, we have to have opportunity. And I think that you use that equity to provide that for all people. And believe me, I know some people have a hard time. I'm not stupid. I'm not saying there's not bias or racism or sexism. I'm not saying that doesn't exist. But I look at college sports and I see a large group of diverse people that have been positively benefited without the money that they fairly can go earn individually based on their value for years. Nobody talks about like the 97% of the football players that never, ever, ever go pro. But because they played college football, they made lifetime connections. Fellow graduates of the school helped them find jobs. They get an education, which helps them go make money for their family. And oh, by the way, something we're going to get to later, because a lot of Gamecock players are now in this business. College coaching pays great. Yep. If you can get to that highest level. It pays super. These are $500,000 a year jobs. Do you think they would have the job or known how to coach had they not played college football? Hell no. Nobody talks about that either, right?
No.
Same thing's true in basketball. Same thing's true in women's basketball, baseball. It goes on and on. It does provide opportunity. That's what college is supposed to be for.
Yeah. Opportunity
for your adult life. And so I'm glad the Trump administration and Linda McMahon, shout out Vince McMahon. Shout out he didn't do Starcade, did he? That was the other one.
No, yeah, right.
Yeah, but for rescinding this pile of crap. And I believe that's the right thing. And I think there are people who are not necessarily on the right or conservative at all that believe this is the right thing to do. I don't think it has anything to do with politics other than the zealots who don't understand sports nor the economics of sports, who kind of just want to burn everything down. Hey, what does that sound like? Go read about the Cultural Revolution in China. Who throughout world history has wanted to burn it all down?
Oh, yeah,
Viva Revolution, right? And those folks aren't even in like traditional American party politics. Unfortunately, there was a slew of them at the Department of Education this past time. And I said I wouldn't get political, so I'll bring it back to sports. I just think this has to stand. I don't think anyone's limiting individual female athletes. I don't think like look, Phil, women's basketball is about to sign a fair television contract for the value of their sport. which it's long overdue. I think it's gotten to the point in popularity, given the ratings and the money, that they deserve their own TV contract. Well, that's money that's going to come in the coffers for that program. That's going to boost their revenue share, their NIL opportunities, all that, because it's the value of their team.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Profitability. Exactly.
I'd
It's not
love
like
nothing more than women's sports to be revenue generating sports,
Me
to be
too.
profitable and not, and but
and frankly, it's getting there. There's more interest now in women's sports than ever in the history of our planet, which is why you don't sit there and take, you're killing the golden goose, because guess who makes all the money for these sports is football.
Right.
I
right.
mean,
It was like, well, they were demanding that they share the TV revenues, right? Because that was, it was a push. It didn't have to be like that. It could have just been name, image, and likeness. There didn't have to be revenue share. But and now it's like, well, now we got our hands on this money. We're going to dictate how they get to spend it. Well, you don't necessarily have that right.
And
you don't
who
get
in the hell
how to spend the money.
A good buddy of mine who's a libertarian said one time, in this country, who in the hell are you to take something that's mine and give it to someone else that I worked for because of my personal value and the value of my organization that I individually work hard for every day to make excellent? Why would you take that from me? Why? Like I said, it's higher education and there has to be some equity involved. But guess what? Last time I checked, nobody's skimping on look, one of the leagues is making the girls volleyball team fly across the country every week. You don't think they're paying for that? You don't think those girls are flying pretty well? If they're not, that's a problem. That's something for Title IX to address. That's what the law was meant for, right?
Yeah, because there was a time when women's sports were treated like that institutionally across the country, where they were put upon. And at that time, it was necessary. But when you're talking about distribution of revenues, then you need to take a step back, because you can't dictate across this country how much people get paid in the real world. And if you're going to start treating these college students as if they are in the real world and make money off of their labor, if you will, I don't want to call it that, but that's what they want to call it, then you can't dictate how much somebody makes per hour. Not yet. Hopefully not ever.
Yeah, not now.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I think that's the idea with some of these folks. But look, cooler heads prevailed. What worries me, Phil, number one, the courts. I think this guy, and I don't remember his name. I probably shouldn't even say his name because I don't want people hitting his website, but he's a Title IX lawyer. He's out of Oregon. You can easily Google it. He's already licking his chops for a lawsuit. So what I think the other plan is, and I'm just going to say that's not a left wing, right wing thing. That's a common sense. There's one side with common sense. There's one side that has some ulterior motives based on their personal political doctrine and how they think this country should evolve. And communism, Marxism, socialism, whatever you want to call it. If you're halfway intelligent and you read anything about any of those doctrines and then you see how they apply things, you will know. And I'm not talking about the Democratic Party. I'm talking about far, far left, out to lunch, people that are embedded in academia, embedded in the government in places, the crazy people. They're basically crazy, Phil, because they're either crazy or they're extremely smart and they're trying to finagle this country to go down a path that doesn't need to go. But the thing is like when you talk about, taking away from someone to give it to someone else, it's just fundamentally unfair. And when you sat there and beat the drum over the exploitation of football players and basketball players, and you wanted to get them to get paid, how can you now take money that's rightfully theirs and give it to it? It's ridiculous. And what worries me, the guy in Oregon, I think he's going to start just filing lawsuits. And sometimes you can get a favorable judge for just about anything. And then the other side has to appeal, and there's injunctions. And I think what the strategy would be, if I were crazy and I were one of them, or if I was, stood to line my pockets based on zealotry, call an ace there. I would appeal and get injunctions and just drag it out, because in 4 years, you don't know who's going to be running the Department of Education. And if it doesn't exist, someone may bring it back.
That's right.
Okay? And Title IX is not going away. Even if the Department of Ed does, it'll go into the Department of Justice, most likely, as far as enforcement goes. And you just never know. So I think we're coming to a head with all this, Phil. Like that was good that they released that said we're taking this guidance away. Common sense prevailed in Washington, right? But I do think that there's a greater discussion to be had out there in Congress, because this can't keep going on. College sports cannot keep swinging on the pendulum based on the whims of who's in the executive branch. Higher education in general, Phil, should not be based on that. And since the administration from 2008 to 2016, it has been. Yeah. And that's everything from how they enforce rules. Like there's some kangaroo courts out there. I mean, it's just some of it's well-intentioned, but I think Congress has to get involved. And if they just want to narrowly get involved with the sports part of it, I'm sure it will pass. Well, on both sides, they have people with common sense here, and they need to sit there and make sure that they're, because Congress is supposed to make laws. And that drives me crazy, because I think for years, instead of making laws, they've been worried about getting reelected or primaried, and they leave too much up to the executive branch, too much up to the judicial branch. They punt, but they are the Kai Krogers of our government.
Yeah, right.
They punt.
That's
and very few fake punts.
The Congress is being run like Iowa football these days.
Yes, they need to
very little scoring.
Punt and play defense.
Great
That's
field
basically
position.
what those guys do. Yes, they are the Iowa Hawkeyes of the government. But they really need to get some structure it however you want. There's going to be give and take. It's not going to make everybody happy. But let's get a law out there that the president can sign and codify and make sure that we're not in college sports. It's bad enough the rest of the government functions that way, administration to administration, because the two sides are so far. They have such tremendously different ideas as to how to run it. And it amazes me, because you go back, I grew up in the 90s, the Clinton era. Amazes me to go back and listen to some of the things he said and things he did, and how that's now like far right.
Yeah. And right. Yeah. Imagine what TikTok would say about that if he said it today. Right.
Oh my God. I mean, it amazes me, but I think we're so far apart that college sports is important to a lot of us. I mean, I'll go do something else. Maybe I'll go be a songwriter or write poetry for a living, Phil.
That's right.
Probably more likely to be a truck driver, drive a forklift, snowplow, something like that.
Well, that could
go down to Home Depot.
Your poetry and songwriting.
Yeah, I got to go down to Home Depot. Orange. Not a bad job. I like the way it smells in Home Depot. The wood.
Yeah, the wood. Yeah, the wood. Nice.
Smell that fresh timber. Yeah, refreshing. But anyway, that's probably to catch up. Now, of course, chat box after this. Definitely want to thank McKellar Enterprises, since we don't have guests, although we will have a guest next week, most likely.
Yeah, we should have one. Mm-hmm.
Thank Meredith. Speaking of female athletes, Meredith McKellar Taylor, who is a McKellar Enterprises, Meredith Taylor, former golfer at Carolina. Gift cards. She'll get your golf swing right. Be sure to check her out on social media. Check out her podcast. It's awesome. And a great, tremendous female athlete at the University of South Carolina. Inside the Gamecocks The Show, we'll roll on. Hour number 1 on a Thursday after this.
We got started in 1979. Because we're a manufacturer, we're able to control our costs. That's why we like to manufacture as much of the product as we can, because in our factory stores we can offer a competitive edge over other people around the country. When people come into one of our Palm Casuals, it's like they're buying their car at Detroit. They're going right to the factory and buying their car.
30-day money-back guarantee. That's a big deal with us. I mean, we give 30 days to do anything. I mean, return it, change it, get a different color, get your money back.
When you pull into a store and it says Palm Casual, you know you're at a factory store.
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
What Right to Bear is we're an association of members across the entire country, and what we offer is we offer legal defense in the event of a self-defense case.
Nice.
So it's not insurance. So we offer an attorney in the event that one of our members might have some type of an accident. ProtectWithBear.com. We've got all of our social media accounts on the bottom of our website. We've got blogs, articles, detailed description of all of the coverages in depth, and you know, we'd love to have you come check us out and ultimately get the protection you need.
Welcome back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks The Show. Just had a rousing Title IX discussion as pertains to the rev share and the changing landscape. I hit the wrong mute button. College athletics and revenue share in the new era. I've been up early today, as early as I could, getting things done, and we've got, you know, the big extravaganza tomorrow, JC. So it's like we're trying to get all the
we won't be
and
talking
elements
Title IX.
put in that, and you know,
I got some work to do on that too. I got a little surprise for the audience.
Oh, I love it. I can't wait. Yeah, but no, yeah. I mean, you got to anything that impacts athletics in such a way, even because there, you know, there are times when athletics and politics end up crossing paths, and you know, you just want, what you want is an optimal situation for everybody involved. And, you know, remembering that the best kind of compromise is where everybody walks away from the table feeling like they didn't get everything they got. That they wanted, right? Everything.
And when they pass legislation to fix college sports, which they need to do, I mean, like Tommy Tuberville is not going to get things to go back to the days of when he was able to hoard players and hold players hostage and all that. Because that's how Blue Bloods got by. They got them in, and you know, then they're like, oh no, you know, it's hard to leave. I think the transfer portal and all that stuff's going to even itself out and smooth out where it's a fun part of the game that can allow teams to, you know, to benefit. You know, teams that wouldn't normally be there. And no, nobody needs to point out that SMU was in and now SMU did have the pretty record because they were portal savvy.
Right. That's right.
But, you know, I guess you could say that, but yeah, I mean, your days of Alabama and Nick Saban are over. I think I don't see any kind of dominant run, which is fine. That's the way it was before. But instead of one team or three teams that had a shot, there were 10. You know, you need that number to be about 20. Make it fun. But nevertheless, you know, and look, I'm not, you know, this is a sports show. You guys know, I mean, I respect, you'd probably be surprised at the history of my voting. You know, I'm not always haven't always been on one side or the other. You know, I like fairness, but when it comes to sports, just the sheer lack of common sense with that, of all the things. And I knew it was going to happen. I knew it.
Oh, yeah.
I knew it, because everybody kept saying, what about Title IX? And I'm like, well, it shouldn't apply. If there's any sense of fairness, it should not apply. I mean, this is not even a discussion. Sure enough, it's a discussion.
That's right. Billable hours make it a discussion.
Billable hours and people that live in a fantasy world, in my opinion. Yeah. So that's fine. But yeah, hey, look, like in the Nana Sport box, what Julie pointed out, that King Dixon nixed the softball team. King Dixon, people that complain about Ray Tanner didn't live through the King Dixon era. And I talked about Ray yesterday. I think Ray had just as good of a tenure as Mike McGee or Eric Hyman. just to be honest, if you look at every one of those guys had different strengths and different weaknesses. You know, they all facilitated the athletics department across the board into the 21st century, which, you know, you kind of wondered at times back in the 90s. King Dixon was horrible. Great Gamecock, good human being. Larry Brown would have been a basketball coach here had King Dixon not been I think he led the Sparky Woods coaching change that it came down to the end. And you don't talk about somebody like money. You want to talk about money? Sparky Woods got that job over Furman's coach, Jimmy Satterfield, and they had won a national championship in '88. So you're hiring the guy from App State that was pretty good, Sparky, that took over for Mac Brown, the guy that followed the guy, or you're hiring Gamecock alum Jimmy Satterfield, who won a national championship at Furman and was an excellent coach. King Dixon's criteria came down to those two. It's like, all right, well, who will bring your coaching staff cheapest? Art Wilkins. Keith Alsop used to tell me this story because Brad Lawing told him. Brad Lawing was part of that staff that came down from App State. He said that Art Wilkins, the OC, used to leave practice and go sell Amway to support his family.
We've come a long way.
Oh, these guys are living in McMansions and driving SUVs now.
That's right.
They all, I mean, the running back, the position coach has a financial planner on speed dial.
That's right. And complaining about spring football.
Well, yeah, I'm going to get to that in a second. I'm very, very pro coach, but there's been some coach things that have, again, all the topics today are about jumping the shark. And I may save that. I may save that spring football thing for the second hour because I got to catch up in the chat box.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the Nana Sports chat box, by the way, because we always like to do that. I mean, you guys are all members, and we like to talk. Jacob from the chat box didn't realize till the other day. Jacob gets up at 2 or 3 in the morning, and so this morning I wake up and he's followed our Instagram accounts.
Oh, nice.
And when I got up at 4, I was like, oh, that's awesome. So hats off to you, Jacob. Welcome in. We're glad you're here. Do you think Jules can get himself drafted? I'm going to say this. I like him so much, like as a player, that it wouldn't surprise me, but I may be a little biased. I don't know how he would stack up to other people, but think about this. He's huge. He could move. And what he did put on last year was impressive. You watch the Old Dominion game. It's rare that a D tackle has really a whole lot of solo tackles at all. Because what that means is they're getting off blocks and stopping guys, right, by themselves. Now sometimes they run them down from behind, which also is impressive for a big guy to get downfield and run.
Right. Yeah. Watch those big guys get down there.
Yeah. Boogie Huntley in the Clemson game, boy, he was moving. But so he's got the ability, and D tackle's such a position where, man, there's not a lot, they're not in abundance. They're a premium position. So yes, I think he can get drafted. I do. He may be a guy that didn't do much at Carolina because he was hurt. And Kreger in the chat box says, man, I really wish Jules could have stayed healthy and been able to show more. Yeah, absolutely. Or maybe played in the first 4, and then that's when the injury happened.
Yeah, right.
And he had another year. I mean, I'd have been pretty fired up about that. As big of a homer as I am for DeAndre Jules, man, I would have been like, there's going to be no problem on the D line next year.
That's right. Yeah, we got a big hole already filled.
It's already
filled. To see that. Yeah.
He's basically Cortez Kennedy.
I wonder, are they Cortez Kennedy? Are they still doing, or I don't know how lenient is the NCAA now with like extending that medical year? Of course, I don't know how many years DeAndre Jules has been in college. Like he could have already graduated twice, and I not know it, but I know this was his last year of eligibility. But
I looked into it. He's no chance.
There's no chance. Okay,
there's no chance. There was because I was excited because he actually came back and played. I think in 7 or 8 games. So and the staff knew that there was no chance. That's why he played spot duty. I think he played in the bowl game. He's a good guy, good player, and I'm heartbroken that happened to because I think he could have been drafted higher had he played the whole year, but he
Yeah.
could get drafted, Jacob, for real. Lance says the 2 young DTs will be really, really good. They're about to get all dirty in the middle. Can't wait to see them. Caleb Williams and Christian Ingram. Caleb's already there, working out well. And from what I told you, he's just this massive, athletic guy. They like him. They think, I don't know if he'll play this year because he's a true freshman, but he's already there. And I think, Phil, like the 5 receivers came in early, and Caleb Williams and Cutter Woods. I think that's what Beamer said before the bowl. So Caleb went through some bowl practices too. 4-star player from outside of Richmond, Virginia. Jacob asked, what's the most draft picks we have had in a year? All right, so I'm looking at the 24/7 Sports draft history on our site, and it goes back to the 90s. I'm going to Joe Rogan you, Phil. Pull up South Carolina draft history, because they have it on some of those databases. South Carolina Gamecocks draft history.
Oh yeah.
I think it's 7. I think. I expect them to top that this year. And again, that's kind of scary because you're like, "Ooh, they're replacing this much talent."
It's good. It makes you feel real good, and then you're like, when you realize what that means, and you're like, "Ooh, yeah, I don't know." Listen, there's a lot of young talent on this team that was already in the 2 deep, playing behind these guys, being developed by the same guys that turned, 3-star under the radar guys into, I don't know, potential first-round draft picks. The continuity on the staff is what kind of gives me, kind of reassures me a bit, JC, because it's not like Beamer's staff has been fraught with turnover. I mean, offensive side of the ball, or offensive coordinator notwithstanding, because even then there's been guys that have, lasted through, Satterfield and they're going to head into the Shula era. But on the defensive side of the ball, you haven't lost anybody. I don't think that you were like not necessarily happy to see go, but we're like, well, I'm sure we could find an upgrade. And then there's that consistency that you've had. I mean, you probably got the best position coach in the country there with Torian Gray. So, no worries there.
I agree. I'm with you there. I don't. Last year, I kind of decided after. And look, it's not like the secondary's never been an issue around here under Clayton White and Torrey Gray. It most assuredly was in 23, which was such a weird thing about that year. It's like plugging leaks in a dam.
Yeah, really.
One thing's an issue 1 week, you get it fixed. Yep. It's something else. And by the way, shout out to Marcus Brown. He says, hi guys, what's up?
What's up, Marcus?
How you doing, buddy? Good to be with you. Or good for you to be with us. I say good to be with you because on Thursdays I'm on the air in Nashville and Tuscaloosa. I'm like, good to be with you.
Good to be with you. Yeah, that's right.
Evening.
I'm bad about that. Afternoon. Oh,
evening.
Wait, no, wait. Evening.
Yeah. So he says, Marcus is in the chat box. But yes, Phil, have you found any draft
I'm
here?
Looking now. 7? It goes through, let's see, 77, 79,
88, maybe.
8. No, 88 was only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. I would say that, what was it, the 2013?
Yes.
6, yeah, the 7 was the 13 class. Yeah, that's the most, 7. So I have if I were able to put money on that, or if anybody wants to send me a cut bet,
yeah,
I say they get better. I say they do better than that. Yeah, I'm taking the over there.
Yeah. Because I think somebody will draft Kai Kroger late. I mean, at punter.
Oh, he's got Mr. Irrelevant wrote all over him.
He's too intriguing with the way he can do the fakes, and also he's a left-footed punter.
Yep.
So anyway, that's to answer your question. Krager says, speaking of D-line, 6'6", 295-ish, I think Christian Ingram can get a few snaps if he hits it hard this summer. We don't have that many body types. Yeah, absolutely. I will say Caleb Williams, and we'll see if Christian Ingram checks in at 6'6". I think he will, but Caleb Williams is checked in, I think, at 6'6", 300, Phil. on the
Wow.
official site.
Yeah, hold on.
Maybe 285. So hopefully those guys are that. But Caleb is a similar body type to Christian. And so one
6'5",
of those
290.
two, 6'5", 290.
6'5", 290, yeah.
And he'll probably be 300 by the time they start. So, yeah, we'll see. But I agree with you. I thought Christian Ingram was a great steal. He was a late riser. You love late. And see, back to our discussion about Georgia on coffee, guys that you get like Christian Ingram, late riser out of Georgia. Matthew Fuller was a late riser out of Georgia. That's smart. That's smart. Kreger says he may be more 3 technique than 0. It says he intrigues me. He's built more like an offensive tackle. Wonder if getting leverage will be an issue with him, at least early on. That's always important on the D line and D tackle, leverage.
Yeah.
Cam brings up a topic we've been had on our script for 3 days.
Yeah.
Chris Hampton named National Recruiter of the Year by 24/7, bring it back home. Look, I think Clint mentions if Clayton White gets a head coaching job, Chris should get a call. It's a lot different recruiting to Oregon than to South Carolina. Just say that. Don't let's be honest here. Oregon has a lot of one thing to sell, and that's good. But certainly, I think to that point, and I want to get into the little former Gamecock players coaching. That's positive. That used to be like so rare,
right?
Like former Gamecock players coaching somewhere. Deuce Staley made his way up in the NFL. It was just different. And you had guys from Georgia and Auburn, and Tennessee, and all over the place. Now there's because of the whole Spurrier era and the winning helps all that. We can't find a draft class any bigger than 2013, folks. And you're talking about setting a record now in 2025. I mean, that's progress. We're talking now about an alum was the National Recruiter of the Year, albeit at Oregon. It's not. Lots of people can recruit. Lots of people go to college for that. They're called doctors.
Hey, look,
but no,
swoosh.
Chris was a really good coach. He's been a really good coach for a while. I liked him as a player too, overachieving safety type. Carolina got him the same year they got. If y'all remember Antonio Hefner, the quarterback that started one game at Carolina for Spurrier down at Auburn.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the deal. I'm just saying. I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying beware of, because then he gets here and he stops signing players. That's happened to a couple of guys that have come in with big recruiting reps. So
yeah,
that's the deal. Craig says this makes my ears bleed. Probably the Title IX. I'd rather talk about hemorrhoids.
It was, yeah. That was when at the end of the Title IX discussion.
It has to be addressed, Craig, and you probably would agree with me. So,
but you're right. It is maddening.
It's not fun.
No.
But I just, I'm just like, I had to get it off my chest. This show is therapy for me. I'm sure you don't want to listen to it on coffee. First thing in the morning, you got a political rant from yours truly.
Oh yeah, we'll keep that out. We'll keep that focused on football.
Tiffany said, and Tiffany inspired me to bring it up because as a female, she made a good point. She said, Chase, depending on Congress, do anything. I do too. Bobby is in the chat box. Afternoon, my friend. The NCAA didn't want to handle this 15 years ago, and now we've let the spastic clown show dictate rules of the game for us. Thank you, Mark Emmert. Yeah, Mark Emmert was clowns are people too.
Yeah, that's true.
But he was.
So I won't wish him any will to his, he did
a lot of
personal
crap,
life,
man.
but he was
like that guy.
No.
Oh God, I remember he was president of Washington, Phil, and LSU. And we don't wish him any ill will, but what?
Yeah, but but listen, professionally, he left a lot to be desired.
Yes. Let's clowns are people too.
Clowns are people too. Yeah.
But what he did to Penn State over a legal issue that was not under their purview. The Department of Justice needed to handle that. It was a criminal situation.
That was a criminal situation. Yes.
And to say the least, I mean, people did go to jail over it.
Yeah, right.
But, and that to me, it was the fundamental problem of enforcement with the NCAA. Very selective, very unevenly applied, and they tried to kill the Penn State football program. Okay, well, I know a lot of Penn State fans. They're fine American people. They're good people. I knew a lot of their recruits. They're good people. I have some mutual friends with Bill O'Brien. He's a good person. Joe Paterno paid not only with his job, but he died shortly thereafter.
Yeah. I mean, it was
right. Passed away. Why are you going to punish? And that was the whole thing. They said they want to punish everybody else that's innocent. Because guess what? They have no punishing power. And so I thought that was crap. The way they fought the O'Bannon lawsuit, we wouldn't probably not even be talking about Phil had they just said, yeah, cut everybody a $400 check and we'll pay it out and we can have the video game because fans like EA Sports is paying us a bunch. You know what they were worried about with that video game? At rivals.com, I crap you not, early on, we went to EA Sports. This is 05, 06. And we said, because at the time there was scout.com, rock.com, ESPN was just getting involved. And we were the gold standard in recruiting rankings, right? Great brand, all that good stuff. It's still around, floating around on the servers at Verizon, where I think. But I think that's who owns Rivals now. But so we went to EA Sports, an independent company at the time before Yahoo purchased us, and got their programmers, developers, and they were right to roll out rivals.com recruiting with the star rankings, the 5.7, 5.8, all this good stuff, right? And the NCAA, because they were mad, they don't like recruiting coverage, right? Because they can't monetize it at all. They can't charge you for the rights, et cetera, et cetera. And they hated us, hated the industry, put the kibosh on it. So instead of using common sense, when it comes to, they were just rolling their, trying to just protect their cartel. They were more worried about what little Rivals was going to do and make money off their recruiting coverage because they couldn't figure out how to monetize it. And then they were fighting for lawsuits that they clearly were in the wrong about to protect their cartel. Obviously, it's cartel behavior. And then they finally got their ass handed by both sides over the ousted money, because that was the most ridiculous thing ever. This ousted money stuff, it's academic money. They're supposed to be an academic, and they weren't limiting, regular students weren't limited, but they were limiting athletes, right? And so they were told by everybody, no, you lose this and don't come back here. It's like when you get kicked out of the bar, don't come back.
That's right.
Don't
stay
come
out
back
of Woolworth. That's right.
Don't you come back. Trouble if you come back.
That's right.
You'll be trouble if you come back around here.
Don't you come around here.
Don't you come around here no more.
I won't see your face around here ever again.
What a music video that is, by the way. Tom Petty's Don't Come Around Here No More.
Ah, yes.
Wow. Anyway, and she said, and as a female, Title IX lawyers just suck. I'm tired of Title IX. Has no place in rev share. Yeah, and that's my thing. Like I said, there's positive things at its core Title IX accomplishes. And I will be the first one to condemn the hell out of whatever athletic department stops funding female sports fairly. And like I said, I use the example. You make the softball team bus to Austin, Texas, or Dawn Staley take the bus to wherever. Yeah, you put them on the Cleveland Indians plane for Major League, and everybody else taking a private jet. I will be the first one right there with you.
I will raise my hand and we'll stand together. Right. Yeah.
The equity portion of it is about opportunity and giving you the tools to succeed. It's really equality. Everything's, equal, and you're given that playing field to go succeed. Rev share at NIL is a meritocracy. I mean, nobody on earth was planning on playing in college football or basketball their bench warmer or their 85th guy on the roster or 13th guy on the roster the same as their number one guy.
No.
So by their fundamentals, yeah. I mean, and it's crazy because the whole argument ends up not even being about equality or fairness. It's just a battle of the sexes. Yeah. Julie says it sucks that the law even needs to be there, but such is life. Yeah. And look, I'll swing back on the other side of this, Julie. I do think that's, not that people set out to do that. I mean, back in the 60s and 70s and, over time, institutions have gotten more fair and better, but you never know. Colleges are political. I'll tell you what, it would probably happen at a place like Yale before it would happen at the University of South Carolina, because your public institutions in the South and places like that are not as much of an old boys club as maybe those Ivy League schools, which I think are overrated. Phil, while we're going, look up was Kim Basinger and Don't Come Around Here No More. Tiffany wants to know from the Nana Sports chat box.
I'm on.
All right, so be sure to check out D's Wings in West Columbia. Go by there before the game tomorrow. Listen to us while you're there. Enjoy their wings and all that good stuff. D's Wings, proud sponsor of the show. We'll be back 7 hour after this.
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Hey Gamecock Nation, my name is Kyle, longtime listener of the show and avid golfer. I wanted to take my game to the next level, but let's face it, golf is a hard game to learn on your own. I heard the ad from McKellar Enterprises and reached out to the owner and former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. In just 2 months of working with Meredith, I shot my lowest round ever, and I've never felt more confident in my golf game. So if you're looking to take your game to the next level, go to McKellarEnterprises.org and book your lessons today with former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. Go Gamecocks.
Think about that old ride of yours. The carpools, the road trips, the heavy hauls, date nights, and the dings and the dents and the sticky spills and cracker crumbs, and that smell that really never goes away. Do you really want to start the new year in the same old ride? Or is it time for a fresh start? Now's the time for incredible New Year's savings at Love Chevrolet on the entire lineup of award-winning vehicles. Love has more new Chevys on the lot than any other dealer in the Midlands, in the color, style, features you've been looking for. With New Year's savings and Love's famous low price guarantee, your new ride in 25 will be invigorating, exhilarating, and affordable too. South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer, I-26 at Harbison, and online at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
That's the power of love. Love Chevy.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Welcome back, everybody. It is Inside the Gamecocks The Show, Hour 2 kicking off now. Looking at that from Tiffany, if Kim Basinger was in Mary Jane's Last Dance. Tom Petty, yes, but not the exact same one. And I don't know. I don't remember that at all, JC. Like, I don't know why. But that one just didn't burn itself into my brain.
That video?
Yeah. Mary Jane's Last Dance. No. Mary Jane's Last Dance.
Oh,
that's the
she
one
was in Mary.
Basinger is in. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That video was like weird. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, God rest Tom Petty's soul, man.
Yeah.
Florida Gator, like a lot of other things that we all have an affinity for in South Carolina.
One of those I
Florida
hate
Gators,
I did not get to see before he moved on. Yeah, that's a
Yeah, dude, that would have been epic. By the way, made a pot roast last night. It's
hot
gone.
skillet with a little oil.
I did. That's exactly the recipe I used. Pepper Belly Pete.
Nice.
Hot skillet with a little oil. I do modify it. He puts tomato sauce in his. I'm not a tomato sauce.
Nah,
I
not
made
on a
it.
pot
I made it with
roast.
I made it with the tomatoes. It was one time. It almost burns it off. You don't really. It just gives it some consistency. You can hardly taste it. I skipped that though. I used his seasoning. I used some bone broth gravy mix instead of regular gravy mix because it's like there's 4 packs of stuff you put in it.
Right,
You put
right.
pot roast mix, gravy mix, roast beef mix, and ranch. And he puts a whole jar of pepperoncinis, juice and all.
Juice and all, yeah.
Juice and all. And I did use that. Probably going to cut back a little on those, but they do give it a nice kick. It turned out, here's what I do. So I get the roast from the grocery store, and then I'll find most of the time at a grocery store called Meyer, we go to, I'll never buy steaks there for grilling, right? But I'll go to someplace a little higher end because if I'm going to grill it, it needs to be good. I grill really well, as you can attest to. I'm good at prepping steaks. However, usually there's New York strips on sale. So yesterday was New York strips. They were ready to go. And what I'll do, I'll put the roast in and put all my mixing, and then I'll throw half the mixing, and then I'll put a New York strip on top of the roast. Another mixing because the boys, they're 16 and 19. They're
gonna
need more meat.
Yeah, right.
They need more meat. Yeah, Krager says pot roast doesn't have tomato sauce. Blasphemy. I know. I'm surprised, but did not include that, and probably won't moving forward. And man, it makes a heck of a roast. I put it on before the show yesterday. We started eating it about 7. It's delicious. I think I'm gonna make dirty rice, pepper belly Pete style today.
Oh,
my wife's like, everything he cooks has butter. It's like, dude, one day he was, for those that don't know, Pepper Belly Pete is a celebrity chef, for lack of a better term, on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and YouTube. He's funny. He's a Texas boy, so he's always cooking Southern stuff. And he kind of just talks like this. I'm Pepper Belly Pete. Well, if you don't like rice, you don't need to cook. If you don't like, he said if you don't like broccoli, you're probably going to be eating broccoli now after you try this one.
That's
then he
right.
goes, let's get started. And
Don't
it's always
make this
like,
unless you want to keep on making it for all your neighbors. Once they taste it, it'll be the only thing you cook.
They're going to be licking the pot after they're done.
Yeah.
And so everything always starts with 3 sticks of butter. So one day his video comes pulling up in a golf cart, right? And he's got this what looks to be a pork belly, right? He's like, oh, I just found this little piggy out by the barn. Let's get started. And it pans to the pan. He's like, 3 pounds of lard. My man just went straight to the lard. I'm gonna take this lard and break it down a little bit, and then take your pork belly. And I was like, oh God. You really could it makes your art. But he has a good dirty rice recipe that's not that bad.
I like that. I'll check that out.
Obviously, everybody in my house is at least half Thai. So there's a lot of rice around here, I'm not being stereotypical. They do eat a lot of rice.
I mean, you're right. Yeah.
She buys 25-pound bags. Yeah, she buys 25-pound bags at a time. They eat they have little dishes like rice and eggs. They like rice. And rice isn't my favorite thing, but dirty rice.
Yeah, right.
I grew up near there's a Bojangles.
Exactly. That's exactly
Really
what it makes me think. I'm like, well, Bojangles, that's where you're going.
I miss Bojangles very, very much. So, all right. So this is not about Shane Beamer, right? Because Beamer has scheduled a spring game at South Carolina. Beamer, I think it's April 18th, Friday night. Beamer has mentioned that there needs to be, he would like to see a scrimmage against another team. I'm all for that.
I think that's different than what, at least how I took it, what we were going to talk about. Like, I think that's a different scenario.
What, the preseason scrimmage?
Yeah. Because it was like Matt Rule was the first thing that popped into my head, and I'm like, shut the hell up.
I'm getting to that. I want to clarify this. Like I'm not going to go off on it. Well, you can never tell with me. I mean,
come on, let's be honest.
I want to say that, we can talk about preseason scrimmages. Well, I think Strickland and Jamie got into a conversation about that on the morning show the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for it with some restrictions, and what I will be preaching to the choir out there, or the congregation, if you will, is please don't try to fire the coach if you lose a preseason scrimmage game. And see, college football so hungry for the least little bit.
Yeah.
Fans are going to, if you have fans, they're going to show up. I mean, you almost need to close them, but at the same time, I don't really like that either. So anyway, the spring game thing. So Matt, it was either Matt or Brandon Marcello from 24/7 CBS reports that, coaches are now, and there's a lot of these anonymous coaches from different leagues talking about wanting to cancel spring practice and move to an off-season training style in the summer, OTAs or whatever they do in the pros. I understand why they want to do that, Phil, but look, this gets into something else. And I am 90% of the time pro coach. I think sometimes the national media destroys coaches. I think there's some jealousy there, all that good stuff. But you've taken so much from the fans already.
Right.
And prices, everything's expensive now. But Mike Morgan just laid out that two of his Ohio State friends spent $19,000 following the Buckeyes. And that's Ohio State. And chances are they'll be in it a whole lot more than some other schools, spending even more money. You can get $100,000 over, quickly. Ticket prices are ridiculous, except for to the men's basketball game last night. $21 for courtside.
Yeah, I was I'm going down to Columbia tonight. That way I don't have to wake up real early. And I was like, oh yeah, the women's game. And I was like, there's no way I'm getting in there. And nor would I pay secondary market prices, because I know that's what I'm going to have to do.
On the secondary market prices for the men's game last night, it started at $2. Get-ins.
Get in. The get-in was $2.
$2. And it showed. I mean, it was, and I don't blame anybody. So we'll get to that. But so you've taken so much away from fans. There are some fans that people, especially with families, that come to the spring game, bring their kids because it's not expensive. It's most of the time it's free. And they get to sit there and watch a football game. And they get to sit there and see the players they read about, and they get exposed, and it's fun. Okay. Is it the most entertaining football game in the world? No. Do I get some stuff out of it from what I do? Yeah, I can just look at it, and then I like to look and see who's playing, who looks good, who's not. Sometimes, Dontavius Braswell and Tyshawn Russell looked pretty good in the spring game last year. They did not play a down this year at all. So, it doesn't really tell you facts, and it's not a projection, but it's still fun, and it's a big recruiting weekend and all that. So you take that away, and you've closed all, it used to be scrimmages were open and things like it's not anymore. Everything else is closed up. And you're funneling fans into this funnel, squeezing them through the end of the funnel where you're forcing, you're forcing them to make choices that they shouldn't have to make. And look, is that going to affect the budget right now? No. Is it going to affect the next TV contract? No. But you start doing that through time, and you start limiting your product basically, and limiting the access to your product, and ending things that fans enjoy. then eventually you're going to start losing them. And all this stuff we just talked about with money and rev share and all that, it doesn't exist without the fans, with all the people we're out there talking to.
Right.
It doesn't exist. You don't have it without Tiffany or Julie or Craig or Steven and or Kent, who had to go to a meeting, he said, or whoever, Bruce, Joe Bob, Jason, Cam, Seth. I just named my brother's names. It's the first thing that came to mind. Phil, JC,
yeah,
Dina, Nat, Laura, whoever, name your name. Mike, Summer. I mean, all those people out there in the crowd, you do not have a sport. And coaches of all people should understand that. And let's just be honest with these folks. I do not believe in that rule that his players have been getting ever poached because the Nebraska Cornhuskers, in front of loyal fans that sell it out for the spring game, I do not think for a minute that anybody has poached his players because they watched the Nebraska spring game and said, man, that guy's good. We got to get him.
Right.
I think, has he ever had a player poached? Absolutely. Was money involved? Absolutely. Maybe it's because it's Lincoln, Nebraska.
There are other factors. I was like, I wonder if that's gone down since Holgerson is there and he who shall not be named is not. What does that impact have?
Well, he's still there. He's just not.
Oh, well, that's true. Yeah, he's right. They keep him
that back to his natural habitat, which is getting coffee and things in the back. But it's like, his D coordinator went to Florida State last year at Nebraska, and some guys followed him to Florida State. Well, hey, guess what? You can't really do anything about your coach going toward another opportunity somewhere, but maybe try to keep him. I don't know. Maybe you should do a little better. I don't know. These are things that are occurring that, there are a list, literally is a list of things that you could list out, Phil, before the spring game exposed all of our great talent.
Right.
There's a list of things you could put out before that. It's the same concept with people that want to, close up practice, sort of, almost too much, in my opinion. I think, Alabama didn't lose 4 games this year because Kalen DeBoer opened spring practices. You just, Steve Spurrier is the winningest coach ever here. And he eventually had to close up some because technology caught up with him and people were in the preseason scrimmages putting his shifts and stuff where he's actually working on stuff on the internet. And he's like, oh, shoot, I got to close that up. Every spring practice was open under him. He won 86 games here. I don't think for a minute that, this is one of those paranoid coach things coming through. And I love coaches. Like I said, I'm in agreement with them 90% of the time. Here's the other crazy part of it. The coaches unanimously voted in January to eliminate the spring portal window.
Right. So that's what I was going to say. I was like, what arrives you here better? Closing that portal? That's the thing that would be more effective than not having your spring game, Yeah. Either that or only allowing transfers if there are coaching changes post spring. I'm all for that. I get that. But I don't see a need. I don't know. You signed with you signed with the team, even if you were recruited by them in the fall. Next thing you know, your winter workouts and spring practices didn't go necessarily as good as you thought. So you're going to bolt because it doesn't look like you're going to get all the playing time that you want. And you feel like you're entitled to more playing time. So you're going to try to transfer somewhere else. I think that's a bad mentality. I think that's brain rot poison, if that's how you're wired to think. But at the same time, you don't need to shut both down. I think, the transfer portal is the thing. I don't understand why they have that spring window, if not, but to, further enable over entitled athletes who think they're owed something.
Yeah. As we found out, though, with the Wisconsin situation, you don't have to get in the transfer portal to transfer if you know where you're going.
Right.
There's no rule against just saying, peace, I'm out, and leaving and going somewhere else. So I just don't think look, man, I've watched so many spring games. I just laid out. I mean, gosh, what if somebody watched South Carolina spring game last year and paid Tyshawn Russell and Braswell to get in the portal?
Right.
I mean, okay.
And I don't think the problem is that, Northeast Nebraska State, I know it's probably not a real school, but whatever, is the one that's calling Matt Rule's players and being like, hey, come on down here. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's more like,
they're big time school, attractive
big
destination
schools, right? Yeah.
And I'll say this, Florida State, pretty big brand, right? And they had the D coordinator there, and I'll say this too, Phil. It's like, I just mentioned two players that were standouts, right? And so it's like, okay, what if they'd have gone and gotten those guys? What would that have meant for South Carolina football this year in 2024?
Right.
Nothing.
Not a thing.
Yeah, what would it have meant for somebody to take Taki Muhammad back in the day? For those that don't know, Taki Muhammad was a defensive back. They moved to wide receiver in the Holtz era, and he tore up the spring game like nobody's business. Brandon McElwain was a superstar in his first spring
McElwain, Belk.
I mean,
how many guys?
Yeah, there's a list of spring game all-stars here and elsewhere.
Right.
It doesn't. Hey, if you're evaluating off of the spring game, good. Because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put some guys out there that I want to get rid of.
Right. That's right.
Have them go against my walk-ons and leave my starting quarterback in and attack the crap out of these walk-on DBs, or vice versa. I'm going to put a guy that throws picks in practice all the time back there so the DBs can jump the routes. And I'm gonna be like, look, see how good this guy is. I'm proud. Wow, what a player. Hey, I heard he's looking to get in the pool. See that happen?
It was like, well, you think about with all the opt-outs and stuff like that now, JC, it was like, well, by that reasoning, you shouldn't be playing a bowl game because they're getting a look at the guys that are going to be on the field for you next year and seeing how they look. So it makes about as much sense. It was like, if you're so worried about them scouting, then you should just, not accept bowl bids because that's your influence of next year.
Yeah. I mean, a partial truth came out. They did coaches were like, well, I don't care about that. I care about injuries. Fair.
Right.
It's happened. It happened here to Jalen Nichols. It's unfortunate that happened, but there's not this big cry around the college football coaching we got to quit doing spring game because of injuries. They want to football rules makers in general. I don't know how bright they are, Phil. And I don't know all of them, but there's just they're worried about kickoffs. When's the last time you've heard of somebody having an intro kickoff and you go, man, he shouldn't have been on that kickoff team or any special teams?
Yeah.
The last one I can remember happened, and maybe somebody in the chat box can remind me, was Arturo Freeman was in practice on the field goal or punt block team back in the Brad Scott era. Arturo was one of the best players on the team, and he tore his ACL. Yeah. And came back the next year to play for Holtz. But there's another Gamecock in coaching, by the way, Arturo Freeman. And that
was that a contact injury though?
I don't know. It was on Phil Kornblut had, I think, Arturo on his show, and Phil was like, what were you doing on that team? So there you go. The 90s. That's the last time I can remember it happening on anything. And I'm like, we're so worried about kickoffs and all this, and you don't hear the spring game coming up. But what Matt Rule said is just, I mean, I got a lot of respect for what Matt Rule did and his stops in college football. And I absolutely am a believer in Nebraska next year now that he's, fixed his tragic flaw of a problem and made a good hire. And I hope for Nebraska's sake. I mean, they got to do this last year, first time Nebraska has been in a bowl since 2016.
Right.
For reference, that was Bill Muschamp's first year at South Carolina, 2016.
Jeez.
Think about if Carolina hadn't been to a bowl since then. And you're Nebraska. Good
And now
Lord.
add the fact that you're a blue blood powerhouse with championships, like national ones.
Krager says Muhammad Kaba. Did Mo get hurt on a kickoff?
Was it kickoffs or just spring?
Which one was that?
I can't remember.
But anyway, yeah, people get hurt in spring. I mean, I agree there, but I don't know. Injuries are part of the game. I mean, you probably shouldn't be, letting your quarterback get hit. I wouldn't think.
Right. There's certain
But I don't,
positions,
maybe you could, but if you do something like people are like, why don't you just do a 7-on-7? You can tear an ACL doing that too.
Yeah, you can. Right.
I mean, so I don't even know. But yeah, I think I would be shocked if there were like a low spring game tampering out there that mattered. And honestly, if it is widespread, if you're a smart coach, because the people that are doing it are kind of dumb, I would use it to my advantage to get rid of dead weight and to sucker other schools into taking bad players. But hey, boy, Blacksburg's nice this time of year. You ever been up there? Yeah. Hey, go give them to whoever's on the schedule next year.
Yeah,
So,
right.
I just don't
first
remember
game
that.
kickoff.
Yeah. In first game kickoff. Was this what year was that? Oh, was that 2023?
Or was that last year? No, he didn't play. No, it had to be 23 because he was coming back off of that knee. Remember?
Yeah, he played
went
some.
down. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Krager's like, I miss sitting on the back of a pickup truck drinking beer and watching football practice. Me too.
Yeah.
I never drank any beer because I was out there working,
but yeah,
sure, a whole lot cooler if you could.
Yeah, a lot cooler. Yeah. That's one disadvantage
What if I bought
of being media tomorrow. It was like I don't get to just drink a couple beers, have a hot dog, and watch the game.
Yeah,
I gotta be on my P's and Q's.
North Carolina 2023. Tiffany points
Yep.
out. Yeah, Mo's had some injury. I wish him the best. Really do. Good person. But look, it's one of those things. I mean, I wonder. There's condos right next to the practice field that are up high enough where you can see everything. I mean,
start putting a giant screen out.
Most schools have that. I mean, by God, if it's revenue, you can't,
Oh my God,
it brings in money. And I think that may be another part of it too. Guess how many dollars the spring game brings in? None. Some schools do use them to fund NIL, but I think this too, Phil. Since so many schools want it, like you take a page from college basketball, they have these. These invitational tournaments that put money in the NIL coffers.
Right. Yeah.
Basketball. All right. So, hey, here's another thing you could take from high school football. Let's do a jamboree, baby.
A jamboree.
A jamboree.
A real old school week
Mercedes-Benz Stadium jamboree. And, you have 8 teams, four games of 2 halves, like a showcase in early mid-August,
like 2 20-minute halves.
And you can pay the teams to participate and be an NIL.
Mm-hmm.
Or do it in the spring. I don't give a flip. I mean, spring practice. You have so many spring practice. How many? 15 spring practices. You have 15 spring practices. Instead of playing a spring game, you go to the jamboree. And you make a bunch of money for your school by playing a half of football.
Yeah, why not?
Let's do a jamboree.
I like it. No, that'd be fun. I'd be more interested in seeing that. I mean, you split the gate, equally. Yeah. I mean, that would be fun.
And then you don't have a situation, because what I worry about is not so much here, because I know I'll hear it here from some people. So let's just say Beamer and his team last August were playing Memphis. Let's use, or Tulane, a good American Conference team.
Yeah, right.
And in those situations, just like in the pros, you're looking to get looks at people, different combos, you're testing it. It's a test. It's not a win or lose situation. And they lose to Tulane. Because maybe Tulane's coaches don't have as many questions, because they got returning players and they got their ones and their twos, and there's a ton of mistakes. And you play 4 quarters like an exhibition game, like a preseason game, and Carolina gets beat 26-7. And there's a couple turnovers by some folks. How toxic is the fan base going to be between then and Old Dominion?
Oh, I was just sitting there thinking, think about Florida and Napier last year. What if Florida had played a preseason game against a group of
FAU
5?
or somebody had gotten beat?
Napier might not have seen game 1.
And at some place like Auburn,
right,
they will fire somebody over 2 weeks in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In my opinion. But if you just play a half, right? Let's say 2 20-minute quarters. Just to get some, or maybe even do it by possession. Like, this guy gets the ball, this guy, no, special teams kicking only, no kickoffs, something like that.
Yeah.
To where you're not really keeping score, like ASO, you'd be like very little ASO soccer. Give everybody orange slices out.
That's right.
People are still going to go watch it, dude. They're going to go buy tickets and
they'll pay to see it, right? Yeah.
I will pay to see it.
Right.
I'll pay to see
that
it.
would be neat. Right. It'd be a great experience.
It'd be pretty cool. You get 8 teams together and play in Mercedes-Benz and get in and out, and the SEC network televises it all day. It's a showcase.
Yeah.
That helps everybody. And then you pay them out. You pay it out to the NIL. I'm onto something, Phil.
That's right.
It's amazing how many
you
ideas.
Get the network involved, and it could fund your rev share.
It amazes me how many ideas I've stolen from high school football in the past 8 months. They're totally applicable to college ball now. The point system for the playoffs, all that good stuff.
Ball in its purest form. That's right. Just bring it on.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to do it in basketball. I mean, they've already screwed up that schedule anyway.
Oh, my gosh, I know.
Yeah, so.
All right. It's be nice if they started that later, but they're not going to.
I want to make a shout out to Palm Casual Furniture, proud sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks The Show. Also, the Barndo Co. We are built by the Barndo Co. each and every day, and will be tomorrow. And I don't have to say any of this because Jamie Brad will be hosting the 4-hour baseball special live from Founders Park with Mad Dog Mullinax. Who do we have? Paul Maneri. Yes. Ray Taylor. Yes. Stuart Lake. Yes.
Monty
Lee. Yes.
Grayson Messina, although he's sick, so he'll be video.
Cole Messina.
Yeah, Cole Messina he tested positive for the flu, so not going to be in the booth. Oh yeah, Stuart Lake. Oh my gosh, we got Blake Cooper. There are any number of players. And then I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get.
I haven't seen his name floating around on the group tech.
No.
But, anyway, I'm fired up about tomorrow because I don't say much. I just listen.
I know. It'll be nice. Yeah, you get to just listen to him.
Lance says he's pulling hard for Justin Okoronkwo, the linebacker. Me too, Lance, because I've hyped him.
Yeah.
And then one I will say I've hyped. Everybody accused me if I say one thing positive about a player, or if I'm just not negative, you're hyping him.
Yeah. Sunshine.
I have hyped this guy. I've used the term freak, and he is an athletic freak. Let's hope he is a freak on the football field. Anyway, Inside the Gamecocks Show, we'll wrap up our last kind of show like this for the week because, like I said, the special's tomorrow. JC and the Mad Dog taking you home on a Godfather Thursday. Inside the Gamecocks Show. Back after this.
Hey, this is Cornbread Cowboy, and you're listening to the show. We'll be right back.
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more. Welcome to Palm Casual Patio Furniture. Because we are the factory, Palm Casual has the ability to offer the highest quality outdoor furniture paired with world-class service. Since 1979, our factory showrooms have done our best to make the buying process as easy as possible for our customers. Our understanding of the many factors that go into your decision has helped us create our 30-day trial period that increases the level of comfort our customers feel during the shopping experience. Visit us in Somerville, Mount Pleasant, Myrtle Beach, and Bluffton, and online at palmcasual.com for our products and out-of-state locations. Go Gamecocks! Welcome home. That's what the Gamecocks say, and so does nationally recognized the Barndominium Company, where they are building dream homes in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Tennessee. Their turnkey process can be custom designed and takes 6 months on average. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com, thebarndominiumco.com.
Mike here for one of the better dining options in the capital city. You know, when I first moved there, I asked people around the radio station, where are the best wings? Well, the consensus was D's Wings. That was then. Today, they still have the best wings, but it's so much more. Now in their new location at 415 Meeting Street in West Columbia, yeah, they get voted the best wings on a routine basis. Yes, they get voted the best sports bar on a routine basis, but they're not just about wings, and really, they're not just a sports bar. It is a family-run local restaurant and bar with 20 TVs and 25 beers on tap. And how about these daily specials? Every Monday night at D's, you've got 75-cent wings from 4 until closing. Tacos on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, 18 wings and a pitcher of beer for $29. You've also got ribs and oyster bucket specials on Thursday. And no matter how big the party is, 20 or more, no problem. Just call ahead of time and they'll take terrific care of you. They'll do takeout as well. And guess what? A human will answer the phone and take the order. Billy and his staff do an outstanding job. Check out D's 415 Meeting Street in West Columbia.
Welcome back, everybody. Final segment of Inside the Gamecocks, the show here for a Thursday. Oh, man, I was sitting here. I heard this, but it's interesting seeing the actual images on the screen where Josh Pate was like rearranging the conferences across the country to what he felt like we should be, 10 teams in each one or whatever. And yeah, I don't know. Sorry. I'm just easily distracted here because I've got the Big Spur pulled up and CBS chose to send us that video today to look at. After I was already looking at Mike, Debbie, and JB on the, it went
the
from
Big
that
Spur
to,
videos.
The Big Spur videos. Yeah.
I like those. It actually leaves South Carolina in the SEC.
Yeah, that's what caught my eye because I missed it when he was on the pod. Mm-hmm.
Didn't move anybody into the ACC from the SEC. It did move like Oklahoma to the Southwest Conference and Arkansas, and moved Missouri into the Big 8. There was a Big 8, right?
Yeah.
But it was what, however many leagues of 10 teams.
Yeah, 10-team leagues.
Six,
bringing the Pac-10 back. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think there needs to be a Pac-10. And I'll tell you this, at women's basketball tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern on Peacock. Boy, that's must date. That's a TV date, right? Southern Cal's playing UCLA. It's the number 1 team in the country at the number 6 crosstown rival. Probably the biggest women's basketball game in Los Angeles since the Gamecocks went out there early in the season and lost to UCLA. It's a Big 10 game. Nobody cares.
Yep.
You think everybody in Chicago now on the West Coast, we watch it. They probably are like, well, bro, this is really cool for women's sports on the West Coast, man.
Yeah,
but no.
Showcase LA,
No,
man.
up here in Chicago, we don't give a rat's ace about those two teams. We're upset because Caitlin Clark lost. Seriously, I've never had a problem as a Gamecock fan, even with the football team playing Notre Dame and Illinois in bowl games at the Tavern with me watching, right? Never had a problem with any fans talking smack. And last April, unfortunately, my wife's ex-husband, the kid's dad, died, and his wake was that day. And so as the new husband with a lot of grief going on with the family, I'm probably the last person they really wanted to see there. So I was there. I paid my respects. And I called an Uber to watch the game. I walk in there and nobody's there. And I'm like, great. Much like football, when it's not a bowl game, I'll have the place to myself. So I'm in there chilling. And then, gosh, kind of like the Super Bowl party this past Sunday, about 10 minutes before tip-off, a horde of people show up. Now, there's the University of Iowa is about 3.5 hours from where I'm at. You go west down I-80. It's not that bad. Iowa City's on this side of Des Moines. So there are a ton of Iowa grads in the area, and there were a few of the with their Hawkeye stuff on. A lot of them, though, were just old dudes that love Caitlin Clark. I like the way she plays ball. I'll tell you that right now. And so I'm the only one for South Carolina, and it's not a friendly game. And this guy beside me after Carolina won was like, these are just a bunch of uneducated education down there sucks. And you guys down there just are stupid. Just pulling the little Yankee thing, you know?
Right. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Look down for people from the South, even though most of the people I know here are jealous that they wonder why the hell I even moved up here. And I was like, look at my wife, look at me, look at my wife, look at me, and you'll understand why. There's your answer.
You'd be here too. Oh wait, you already are.
Yeah, you already are. Even though most people here would love to move to the South. That's the only time I've ever actually had to go back at somebody verbally, and I was like, you don't know what the F you're talking about. Yeah, I let him have it a little bit.
Yeah,
he was too old to physically fight me. And I wouldn't have fought him anyway, because again, he's early 70s at least. This old dude, I was like, man, and that's the only time I've ever caught crap. And hell, played Illinois in football and played Notre Dame in football. So anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, okay. I was talking about carrying
the conferences and all of that.
The tragedy that is the Big Ten, and so that's just kind of.
Yeah, I can't believe I hate that you can tell some of this stuff is prearranged, right? Where they're throwing a bone to their streaming partners, but because I would watch that. Well, to be fully honest, I would fall asleep to watching that game, even though it has a 10 o'clock tip, because of it being two of the top programs in women's basketball. But I don't. But Peacock was the last one that I don't have, and I'm holding strong and not getting Peacock. And I'm not going to be able to watch this game because I don't have Peacock. And I know everybody's like, well, they'll give you a free trial. I'm like, yeah, that never works out. I already have 2 or 3 streamers that I pay for now every month because they were free trials, and I forgot to shut them off before the trial was over.
This is how this hurts when it's bad, because it's not even on the Big Ten network. I mean, which is available with YouTube, like some of your Hulu and things.
Yeah, it's included with more things than damn Peacock.
Yeah, and so so this is where the Big Ten has, I think, with all the pomp of circumstance, screwed the pooch a little bit. Because look, ESPN is say what you want about ESPN, Disney, whatever. ESPN's pretty easily accessible. Yes, they put some things on SEC Network Plus or ESPN Plus that you do have to stream with minor, non-revenue sports and, basketball games, things like that are early, but just about everything's streaming. You could get the Disney bundle that includes Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN for, a fair price. You don't have to
I get
add
it
on.
commercial free on all three for less than $30 a
Yeah,
month, which I think is fine
exactly.
because I get everything.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. And, so it's one of those things where, and ESPN still, the majority of their stuff, especially games people care about, especially with women's basketball, it's accessible. I mean, how many people do you think are going to watch a great matchup between two storied institutions in nation's second largest media market, Los Angeles, on streaming versus how many people are going to watch UConn and South Carolina on Sunday on ABC? Carolina's and UConn's numbers will dwarf them.
Yeah, it makes me wonder. I was like, what's on NBC at 10 o'clock tonight? Because I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
I don't
you
either.
could have put that on there.
I had to give up the blacklist, man. And, I've said jump the shark a few times today. I didn't realize, I don't know how I forgot this because I knew it. And it's one of those things I knew and then forgot. The term jump shark, that came from Happy Days.
That's right. Fonzie.
There's an episode of Fonzie.
Yeah.
That means it's like, but it's kind of, the blacklist definitely jumped the shark. I was just like, I think you're trying too hard at this point. I used to watch it every single day, but that was the last thing on NBC. I think I really watch, and I've got Hulu. So if I want to watch network TV, I can watch that. So
yeah.
And all the CBS stuff's on Paramount Plus, which has better, TV shows, originals, and things of that nature. Anyway, by the way,
that's why. Yeah, I got an email from YouTube TV saying they that Paramount and YouTube or in Google are in discussions now, and it may turn off today. I was like, I got Paramount. Whatever I want to see will be there.
Yeah,
Paramount Plus doesn't matter.
Paramount Plus, man. By the way, if you join thebigspur.com and pay full price monthly or yearly, you get Paramount Plus free of charge. Free. Can't be so. I have very few people that cancel the Big Spur these days that they used to say, and it was a real thing. It wasn't an excuse. My wife won't let me be a member anymore. Now with the Paramount Plus deal, Phil, that never gets canceled.
No,
I never hear that.
My wife would get mad at me if I'm not a member.
Yeah,
anymore.
the whole family gets the benefit from it. However, it's like, but yeah, you get it for free. But it's like with the Big Ten, when they left, they basically told ESPN to go jump in a hole. And they signed NBC, CBS, Fox, the Big Ten network. And what they did was, I think it hurts them to not have some presence on ESPN because it's still synonymous with college sports. And yeah, they have highly rated games and they're on network TV during football more. But others like basketball and stuff, I mean, there's a lot that's on Peacock. A lot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't get it. I don't either. Because it's, and for me, and I know I'm just one man, right? I'm only one man. I would watch more live sports than I would whatever's on NBC because I don't know what's on NBC. Even in prime time, it's like there was a time, we're all old enough, not all of us, but you and I are old enough and probably a vast majority of our listenership to where you knew what was on every channel every day, starting at 8 o'clock, Monday through Friday. Mm-hmm. We don't live in that time anymore. And I understand that, but still what's on there that that's going to outrate a top, I think USC's top 10 or Southern Cal's top 10, a top 10 women's basketball matchup. Yeah. I don't know.
They're number 6 and UCLA's number 1.
Yeah.
I mean, in LA alone, you're going to get a big number.
Yeah.
I would think, those two going at each other.
You got to imagine there's some dollars being put down on that across the country here that would draw eyes. And
people in Vegas are like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
Let's go. Yeah. And I don't know. It'll be interesting to see kind of how it all plays out. Certainly the money's right for the Big Ten. But I just think in basketball, especially, and we'll probably see it in baseball too. I mean, goodness gracious. all the 10 baseball games are going to be on Peacock. And there's some teams that care. Oregon, Southern Cal, UCLA, they care in baseball. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out when we move forward with all that. Speaking of basketball, man, it's just there's a big conversation on the Big Spur about NIL, and people are reaching back because they're going to blame Ray Tanner for everything. I think if any of you care about sports at Carolina and you want to think about NIL, you should thank Ray Tanner, because he and his team did a lot to position the NIL situation for sports across the board, really. And I understand this, and I've had this conversation with other people. I understand when you look at the numbers and you look at the standings and you kind of just look at it like that way. A binary, very surface level look. You see Carolina's 0-11, and you see last in NIL, and logic. You're not acting illogical. That logic would dictate that's kind of how it is. And I'm definitely not saying that they couldn't have used a few more dollars last year with certain players. And I forget about the kid from Furman, Pegues, that went to Auburn and has averaged 1.5 points per game. He never plays. I forget about him a little bit, because that was, the other guards they lost. I mean, the one kid that went to Villanova wanted to stay home. The kid would not have helped them one bit. That ended up, I think he was from St. Mary's or somewhere, but and they landed on Jamari Thomas, who I don't know how you can have a point guard when you turn it over 24 times a game that misses 10 shots a game and has very few assists. I don't know how that's sustainable.
There was a point in the game yesterday, JC, and I thought about that exact point. There was a time in the game yesterday in the first half where 3 Gamecocks had scored all the points: Colin Murray Boyles, Zach Davis, and Nick Pringle. And that was it.
No.
And you're like, your point guard isn't even can't even get a bucket. One.
He'll score.
Yeah.
And every 10th shot it goes in, and then he'll just keep shooting. Now I'll say this: late was happy with how Jacoby Wright played. He kind of played his game last night. Short pull-up jumper, when it's falling for him, it's good. He didn't look overwhelmed, but he's a role player, man. And he wasn't expected to come into this season, at least during the off season, and be a carry the team. So with NIL, you talk about that, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. Let's not be hypocritical here, because everybody, including the coaching staff, including us, including everybody, the observers. I mean, when football started 3-3, everybody's like, can't wait for basketball. Boy, wasn't that the hot, cold takes exposed?
Yeah, really.
Lamont will get this right. Nobody expected this. Even the media picked him 11th, which was low, but still some respect. And quite frankly, they're 21 points from having 6 conference wins and being in the NCAA tournament.
I know. Yeah. 21 points from
21 in basketball. That's not a lot. That's 10. There's the 10 shots that Jamari Thomas misses every game.
It's 7 possessions. Right. Yeah, exactly.
And 7 possessions. Yeah. And I'm not coming down on him specifically. Craig Davis hadn't been his best year at all. Hadn't made any progress. Gotten worse in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So I think this too. And I was talking with one of our big Spur guys earlier today. I'll remain nameless, but we were talking about basketball, and I don't think NIL is the problem. Like that, you can't point to that and go, well, if they'd have just had $1 million more, that would have been fine. I think there's a little bit.
Well, look back, was South Carolina second in NIL spending on basketball last year? Because that's where you finished the regular season in conference. Right.
It was really much worse.
Yeah.
Right. What it is. So you look at it and I don't think those two things correlate, although I don't think the people that say that are being illogical, because I do think moving forward, that's how you fix it. I think the bigger thing is, and I think Lamont Paris has probably learned this in a little bit, is you need to make sure that you and Lamont said this on our show, high basketball character. And he didn't mean, because you hear, oh, bad character. You're like, oh God, oh, bad. No, high basketball character is basically being a team player, basically making the extra pass. Because in basketball, you can get selfish. In football, unless you're a quarterback and you touch the ball every play, or I guess you could be selfish if you like loaf on a block or something, if you're a guy. But, being selfish in football is a little bit more about protecting yourself or not being tough, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Basketball, every play when you touch the ball, you have a decision: pass, shoot, dribble. You have 3 decisions to make. And those decisions go a long way into determining if something's going to work or not. And I think there's just a lot of low basketball, if you call it character, low basketball character, like he said. And I think it completely shocks the hell out of him. Nobody saw this coming. And if anybody out there in fan land says it, you didn't see it coming either. And so I think that's going to be, and it's hard. Shane Beamer's talked about this in football. It's hard with the portal to thoroughly vet, and then you just never know when somebody gets on the court. I mean, man, I played basketball in high school, junior high, and there were so many guys in practice, smooth operators. They get in the game. They'd be like, you'd think they were in the church league, just dribbling it up, firing 35. Because, naturally they start thinking about their own score. You want to score. You want to put it in the hole. And when you're focused on yourself, you can almost be too confident, and then that wrecks everything else. And I don't, individually, there's a lot of guys that I see, not all the time, but sometimes, particularly when the game's on the line, that do that. And I think the key to, if you're going to revamp the roster this offseason, which I believe they will, you got to go find guys that are willing to play within the system and that are the team guys. I don't think they just lucked in to BJ Mack and Talon Cooper, but I think that the mental approach those players had and the desire they had to play within the system, and then their skill set on top of that, is what allowed this team to be a surprise last year. I agree. Everybody that says that said in the preseason they have more quote unquote talent. And what that means, I think they do have better athletes top to bottom. I think Nick Pringle's a better athlete than BJ Mack. I don't think he's a better basketball player.
Yeah, right.
I think Zach Davis is one of the best athletes on the team, right? I think he's probably a better athlete than Michi Johnson. Which is not a better basketball player.
A better basketball player, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Jamari Thomas is a much better athlete than Talon Cooper, but he's not a better basketball player. And then yes, Dia, the big guy from Ole Miss, the flat footer set shot from 3.
Yeah. I'm like, what are you gonna do?
I saw it coming too, dude. I saw it coming. I was like, because they were, and they did the right thing, man. I mean, that's not. I don't know. You let him take that shot. Usually, I mean,
right.
I think. I mean, because he was up there, and there were guys going to the rim, right? And they trailed the guy.
Well, and that's what killed me, because you could hear it in Derek's voice. I was listening to the radio call at the beginning of the game, and it's just like, what? This guy hasn't hit, It's like he was a
22% 3-point shooter.
Exactly. He was like, he only hits like 1 out of 5. He hasn't missed tonight. Oh my God.
Dude, it was a dagger, because I think it wasn't 66.
That was a tie
Carolina
ball
come all the way back. And then Carolina bricked a shot or something, turn it over the other end. I don't know exactly what happened.
I think
And
that was
this
a
guy
miss,
covers-
and then he hits, and then there's 2 turnovers right after that.
Yeah, and
you're
then it was
done.
disaster.
Yeah,
And dude,
then it's over.
it's like I'm gonna tell you, Phil. It was like, and they had great defense that possession.
Right.
They had great defense on the shot by Davis that salted it away, but that was just a play for them. But they had everybody covered, and then they get out to Dia, and the shot clock is running down, and you're like, I'm looking at him, he's wide open, and Carolina's players just kind of looked out at him, and he was just like shrugged his shoulders, and then
right.
nothing net. That guy couldn't miss.
No.
I mean, I'm like,
everything you put up just like right at the bottom of the net. Like, God.
Hey, Georgia's starting to sink a little bit. So there's a chance for a win. LSU is 1-10 in the league. I don't know.
Texas.
I hope they don't go over. Texas is slipping a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you got LSU, Texas,
Georgia.
They got opportunities.
They got to play at Florida this weekend. I would be stunned if it is a close game, as close of a game as it was in Columbia. Florida, when they're
like 2-3 points, though, man.
2-point game down to the wire.
I know.
Carolina
on the road.
All they got to do is inbound the ball, and somebody from Florida pulls a Larry Bird and steals it, wins the game. Remember,
it's a tie
Frank Martin
game, less than 5. You got possession, and you mess up the inbound.
You have to laugh or you're going to cry because I feel so horrible for these guys.
I know
Frank
Craig's right. It's bad for your health, but we got to watch.
Oh, it is. I turned it off for a little while. Then I turned it because on my iPhone I have Apple. Apple actually does sports scores now. They do it in real time. It's awesome. And I noticed it was getting closer, and I was about to go to bed. And I've never seen the movie Interstellar.
Oh yeah,
right. Matthew McConaughey. I've never seen it, but I'm
halfway
halfway through it. Best part about it so far is Michael Caine and his character.
Oh yeah,
and the soundtrack's really good. It's a what's his name? Hans Zimmer soundtrack.
Hans Zimmer, yeah.
But, yeah, it's kind of weird. It's a creepy thing. It's a movie so far. So I was like, do I finish Interstellar or do I turn on this game before I fall asleep? And I turn on the game.
Oh gosh.
I had nightmares.
It's tough, man. I know. It's like I listen to it on the radio now for my nerves, because if I watch it, it'll just be compounded, right? But then I got a little confident because we kept losing the close games, and then I started watching some, and I'm like, oh no, this is even worse. Where's my radio?
I said today on coffee, I have never. I brought up like the 86 football season. I've never seen a season like this in Carolina athletics.
No,
where there's there's very little winning, but like a slew of extremely close losses against really good teams. I've never seen a season like this. I mean, usually if you're 0-for, you're getting, and Carolina has gotten beaten pretty badly at times. Yeah, on the road,
a couple of double-digit ones in there, sprinkled through the 2 possession games that have been killing you.
By the way, I feel bad for Carl Ravitch from ESPN. He's going viral. He was calling an SEC game, and he was talking about how the SEC's overall record was this, and the non-conference. He's like, but since then, it's 82-82. Think about it.
Yeah.
How dumb that is.
That's
every conference record is exactly 500.
Yeah.
Because to have a win, you have
somebody's got to lose.
And he was like, so there's not a team just dominating and running away. It's 82-82. And the other guy was kind of silent, awful announcing, and everybody else. And surely this guy. Oh man. I'm going to talk to Mike Morgan about that next time we talk to him. But yeah, it's just I've just never seen a season like this, man. But hopefully they can fix it. Hopefully baseball is not disappointing, man. Same person I was talking to, I was like, watch him go lose 2 or 3 to Sacred Heart. I was like, I don't even want to be around. Oh, God. I can only talk so much football, and keep everybody's spirits up, because
that's right.
Then what's going to happen is people are going to start to get paranoid about the losses in football. and they're gonna start doubting, which I think it's fair to have questions, but
yeah.
Oh man, I care about your spirit, folks.
That's
yeah,
right.
and then Dawn Staley's team will get upset in the second round.
I was just about to say it was like, and then watch the the women's team get bounced in the SEC tournament, and then it's all.
It's never. It's just not. Things are never as good as they seem. Never as bad as they seem. So
that's right.
We'll see. But we've gone over today. I apologize, but don't forget tomorrow. I'll be in 10 to 2. Everybody be in 10 to 2. It's one big show tomorrow. Our baseball special extravaganza. I will be back with a coffee in the morning for you guys. And other than that, thanks for listening. Phil, thanks.
Yeah. That's all right. Yep. Appreciate everybody listening. We will see you all tomorrow with our all-star guest list on the McKellar Enterprises guest line, live from Founders at 10 in the morning. Y'all have a good evening. If you can, get on out to Beckham Field. I know the softball team's 6 o'clock, I think, on their second tournament. That would be the undefeated, I believe, women's softball team. Yeah, go support Ashley and the gang out there. And of course, the women are on the court tonight against
Gators,
Florida. Yeah, Florida. So that ought to be a good one. What?
By the way, one more thing. Get to GamecockTraditions.com or Gamecock Traditions if you come in town for the game tomorrow. They got the sweet baseball hoodies.
Yeah, the baseball hoodies are back in stock. I saw that. Yeah.
Check them out on X at Gamecock Traditions. I meant to mention them earlier.
Yeah, for sure. But everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. And JC, JB, myself, and everyone else will see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning.